First, let's define what is wealth. All right. Wealth, in your mind, when you think about being wealthy, you're probably thinking about people like Elon Musk, who's very rich, Jeff Bezos, like many billions. But that's not necessarily what wealthy really is. These people are wealthy rich, right? So wealthy is simply means that you have more money than you need over a long period of time. Now, this definition, there is two things I want you to keep in mind. First is more money than you need. Now, the natural question you would need to ask yourself from this is how much money do you need? And that's very important. So, most people are thinking about being wealthy, about having $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. If you're making like 50,000 a year, this is unrealistic for you at the moment right now. This is the wrong way of thinking. I mean, you can be lucky and create a business, and there is only 10% of business that are successful. If you're part of that 10%, then by all means, don't let me stop you. But for most people, they don't have business skills. So necessarily an investment is actually the best way for them. Maybe they want to invest in real estate, maybe they want to invest in stocks and cryptos. It's up to them. But at the end of the day, we're talking about how much money do you need? Let's say right now, if you add all your bills at the end of the month, it adds up to 3,500. Let's say 400. Oh, not 35. Yeah, 3,500 or 4,000. Let's say 4,000. So you doing if your expenses are 4,000 a month, that includes rent. Let's say 2,000 of that money goes to rent. So you have a house, townhouse you're renting, or maybe it's your mortgage. So $2,000 gone. Then after you have your cell phone, you have your car, you have your insurance, maybe you have your life insurance. Who knows? We're gonna talk about that life insurance in one of the streams. I'm gonna dedicate many streams for that. But at the end of the day, your life living expenses are $4,000 a month. Good, that's good. So is it fair to say that if you have $4,010, technically you have more money than you need? Is it fair to say that? Because if I give you $4,010 and your living expenses are $4,000, therefore you have enough money for the month. You have enough money to cover all of your expenses for the month. Maybe part of your budget in a $4,000 includes groceries, includes money to go to restaurants once a week. Maybe that includes a gym. I'm sure $4,000 you can fit a lot of that in. And maybe that includes like a little $100, $200 so that you can go to movie theaters, have fun, right? Your have fun budget. $4,000 can fit a lot of that. Like me, I've do all that with less money and per month. So I know it can be done. Now, that's what wealth means. Wealth means having more money than you need. So if your investment pays you $4,010, therefore, your investment is technically putting you in a wealthy situation because you have more money than you need. Now, the other criteria for wealth, and this is very important, is for a long period of time. The factor of time in the definition of wealth is very important, right? The more money than you need on its own does not make you wealthy. More money than you need over a long period of time makes you wealthy. Therefore, if you have your investment that is paying you $4,010 a month, while your living expenses are $4,000 a month, but this is coming every month for the next 5 years. Therefore, you are wealthy for 5 years. That is how you define wealth. That is the proper definition of wealth. If you have an investment that is paying you $4,010 per month for the next 30 years, you are wealthy for 30 years. And this is how I want you to think about wealth. I don't want you to think about wealth when you see 50 cent, filthy rich, PIMP. Nah, Jeff Bezos buying private jet, Grant Cardone, all that. This is the not, I wouldn't say toxic, but this is not a productive way of thinking about wealth. Because for you to get there, it's going to take you a lot. And you may do everything right and still not get there. And having 10 million in your investment doesn't necessarily mean you're wealthy, because again, we're going to have to see to check your liabilities to see what kind of life do you have. But if you think about it as the monthly expenses, you think about it as your income coming in from your investment, and can that cover a little bit more than your living expenses, then yes. And of course you can increase your investment so that it doesn't bring you 4,000 $10 a month, it brings you 5,000 a month, maybe it can bring you 10,000 a month, and so on and so on. And that's how you get wealthy rich. But for now, and I would say for the next 10 years, one a very good way to think about wealth, it's simply what is a living expenses that can you make you feel comfortable. So not balling, but at least you can pay your rent or mortgage. You can have a nice car or two, and you have enough money to do whatever you need to do. For example, have fun, go to movie theaters, all that, buy stuff for your wife, and still have enough left. Like you don't feel like you're living, you living like paycheck to paycheck, or you're counting every dollar at the end of the month. So if you can have make that budget, what is that life looks like. Like me personally, what I do is on my budget, I include um, um, cleaners. Like I hate cleaning. I hate cleaning. And my wife asked me to clean in the house. I'm supposed to be responsible for cleaning, but I hate it. So one of the things I do is I look at cleaners. What are the rates? Once a week, if I would invite someone to come here and clean the place, how much would that be? Let's say it's $70 or $80 uh, um, a week. So I include that in my budget, right? Then no, I want a car. I don't want to spend more than 600 per month for a car. I put that in my budget. And then you create a budget of what your life would be like if you're living very comfortable, and you have enough money to do what. Maybe you want to do a trip every 4 months or once a year. You include that in your budget. What is that life looks like? And then you focus on that to work on your portfolio. So let's say a portfolio that could give you that lifestyle would be $80,000. $80,000 a year. If you could make that from your portfolio, that would give you the perfect lifestyle that you want. Not perfect because you're not a wealthy rich, but at least it would give you a very comfortable life. So that right there is your starting point. You want to build a portfolio that pays you 80,000 a year. So maybe it pays you that per day, per month. If you're doing in stocks, it's dividend per quarter, but you start with that. That's the best way to start. And so again, we're going back to the definition of wealth. Wealth is more money than you need over a long period of time. The factor of time is everything. And if we're talking about generational wealth, then we're talking about a very long time, right? At the end of the day, we're here to build generational wealth because we want some of that wealth to pay for our lifestyle, and we want to have a little bit of that money left for a legacy so that they can start and build their own wealth. Maybe they can build up on top of the wealth that you already built, right? If you have wealth that is acquiring value that continues to pay you over time, I call this the cash flow value investing. Make money two ways. You make money with the cash flow, money coming in today, and then you make money with the value over time. It appreciates over time. So with a money like with an investment like this, you enjoy the payment, which is the cash flow, and then you keep the value for your legacy. So that 30 years later, you want to pass this investment to your legacy, to your kid. I just have a newborn. I'm thinking about it every day now. So again, that's how you can build your generational wealth so that he can enjoy that cash flow coming in 40 years from now, should I die. So that's the way of thinking about generational wealth. How do you build your wealth now so that you can allow you to retire early in the next 5, 10 years? And then how you build that wealth so that your legacy, your kids, your wife, your brother, or anyone you want are enjoying that wealth that you build in, and they're gonna use this to make it even more money for them. And you have a cycle of wealth building generationally that that's growing the community, growing the wealth in the family, growing the wealth in the community. So it's very important to think about it that way. And talking back to the definition of wealth, that's exactly what I want you to think about it. How more money than you need over a long period of time. We're talking about retirement here. Therefore, we're talking about from the time that we're retired until we die and thereafter. All right. If you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here where you can find the entire Wealth Engineering podcast. Click right here and we'll see you on the next one.